San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Colorado Rockies in the opening game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup for the Rockies, right-hander Dakota Hudson, and for the Padres, right-hander Randy Vasquez. Hi again everyone, Sam Levitt here inside the loft at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40 as the Padres continue this six-game homestand. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll also check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. in just a handful of minutes. And coming up a little bit later, I go one-on-one with Padres reliever Jeremiah Estrada, plus much, much more to come. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971, with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside. Padres entered today with a record of 22-21. Padres have won 8 of their last 11 games. They've won 4 consecutive series. Rockies, meanwhile, are just 12-28 coming in, but don't sleep on the Rockies. They're playing good baseball right now. Rockies have won 4 in a row and are coming off a sweep of the defending World Series champion Texas Rangers. Before this 4-game win streak, the Rockies had not won consecutive games this season. Rockies pitching has allowed just 7 runs combined in the past 4 games. So Colorado, despite the record, they come in playing good baseball right now. Padres beginning a 3-game set against Colorado here tonight. Before we turn our attention to this 3-game series, let's take a look back at the rubber match of the 3-game set here at Petco Park against the Dodgers yesterday.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Fernando Tatis Jr. put the Padres ahead in the first inning.
2-0 from Buehler. The pitch. Tatis swings, sends it in the air, deep center field. Pages is back at the wall, looking up, gonna go! Long home run, well beyond the 396 marker to the right of straightaway center field, and a Mother's Day blast for Tatis, his 8th home run of the year, and the Padres take a 1-0 lead.
Then Jake Cronenworth went back-to-back with Fernando's 7th home run of the season for Jake. It was 2-0. Meanwhile, Yu Darvish was in command early on. He was perfect through 4 innings on just 48 pitches. Padres then scratched across another run against Walker Buehler in the 4th to make it 3-0. Padres added on in the bottom half of the 5th inning, courtesy of Xander Bogaerts.
Here's the 2-2. Xander swings, hits it in the air to deep left center field. Hernandez back to watch. It's going to go. There you go. Xander Bogaerts snaps an 0 for 17 with a long home run to left center field. And the Padres add on. It's 4-0.
Xander's first home run in 18 games. Yu Darvish, meanwhile, continued to be a big story. Darvish worked around a 1-out double for a scoreless 6th inning. He returned to the mound for the 7th inning. He got a ground out. He struck out Max Muncy. Then Darvish polished off a terrific day.
0-2 to Andy Pages. Everybody on their feet, and the pitch swung on and missed. Strike 3. Darvish finishes strong. Back-to-back Ks to end the 7th. And for the second time this year, Yu Darvish gets through 7 innings.
Padres led 4-0 after 7. Wandy Peralta got out of a jam in the 8th inning. Robert Suarez put on the finishing touch to a series win in the 9th.
Here's another 2-2 and a swing and a miss. The Padres have shut out the Dodgers for the first time since 2018. They win a 4th consecutive series by taking 2 out of 3 from LA. Yu Darvish, 7 shutout frames. Pods hit back-to-back homers in the bottom of the 1st inning, and that's all they needed as they beat the Dodgers 4-0 here this afternoon.
Padres with a 4th consecutive series win, and now they go for a 5th consecutive series win as they begin a 3-game set against Colorado coming up at 6:40. As we walk you up towards first pitch, let's go inside the Padres radio booth and check in with Tony Gwynn Jr.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
We go inside the Padres radio booth. We're joined by Tony Gwynn Jr. as we get ready for today's game on the Padres radio network. And Tony, let's start with the guy on the mound for the Padres today. Right-hander Randy Vasquez did a good job in Chicago on Tuesday against the Cubs. 4+ innings, 1 earned run given up, struck out 6, 5 hits allowed. What have you liked from Randy Vasquez so far, and what would you like to see today against a Rockies lineup that's doing some good things right now?
Randy threw the ball very well his last time out, and, I think that's kind of what the Padres are hoping for from him, filling in for Joe Musgrove, to be able to get that kind of starts. As you said, he went 4 1/3, gave up 5 hits. He only gave up the 1 run. The key stat in there is he had no walks. And for him, I think that's the key. When sometimes he can get a little erratic with his command, but when he's throwing strikes like that, he's got good stuff, which is why the Padres, wanted him in that deal. But that's what I think I'm paying attention to. Can he command the zone? Can he be in the zone, throw the pitches somewhere where he wants to? I think he can have some success if he does so.
Before we dive even deeper into this series and into the Padres, I just want to get your take on the last week and a half or so. Padres have won 8 of 11. The record's 22-21. Bottom line, Rockies are coming to town. A good opportunity to stay above 500. They've won 4 consecutive series. The whole package of what they've done in this 11-game stretch, Tony, your take on all of it right now for this team?
They're playing clean baseball, which is, something Mike Shildt has stressed since spring training. That's going to give them the opportunities that, they need in order to win games, especially when you're going up against, the likes of the Cubs, the Dodgers, both really good teams. And you can throw the Diamondbacks in there as well. They took care of business. They, played clean defense. They got good starting pitching, which has been the key for this ball club all season. And even when the offense wasn't like superb, they did enough. They were able to, ultimately score more than the other team, which is the name of the game. But I just like the way this team goes about their business. Their approach offensively is conducive to a team that, can score in many different ways. And so that's what you've seen in these last 4 series from the Pods.
Let's stay on the offense, Tony, because despite winning a number of these games, the offense, if you zoom out a little bit, the last 5 games going back to that series finale in Chicago, they've scored a grand total of 11 runs. It's not that much as far as generating runs. What would you like to see against Dakota Hudson tonight from this offense and in this series against Colorado?
Well, first, I think it's important to mention that Dakota Hudson is not Tyler Glass now. He's not Walker Buehler. I mean, some of the pitching that, Imanaga, some of the pitching the Padres have seen in the last however many games has been some of the best pitching in the league. And so when you're running against those guys, the runs are going to be at a premium. You're not going to be putting up big numbers against those type of guys. And so I don't know that I necessarily need to see anything different from them. Dakota Hudson is going to, present a different challenge. And for him, he's had a hard time commanding the baseball. The Padres do a great job with not chasing. They walk. They don't punch out a lot. And I think as long as the approach stays the same, I don't know that they need to, change anything offensively. The quality of pitcher isn't going to be as high as they've seen over the last week and some change.
Good point on the pitching and the quality of pitching the Padres have faced lately. One more thing, Tony, before I let you go. I was perusing the Padres game notes as I was eating dinner about 25 minutes ago inside the press box, and I came across this note. I highlighted it because even though I know Robert Suarez has been great and he's been perfect in save opportunities, Padres are 17-0 in games where Robert Suarez appears in this season, which still seemed remarkable to me. So for me seeing that as I'm eating dinner, my mac and cheese and the brisket they had in the press box, which, by the way, has nothing to do with Robert Suarez and this question, but just the whole package with what he's done, Tony. What's impressed you about what this guy's done the first month plus now of this season?
He's as cool as the other side of the pillow. Whether, he's in traffic, whether there's no traffic, you get the same guy every day. And he's been the Padres by far. I don't know that it's all that close. He's been the best reliever the Padres have. And whether it's been a 3-out, 4-out, 5-out save, he's been dependable. And That allows a manager to manage a game a little bit different. He knows all he has to do in most cases is get to the ninth, and in some cases just get an out into the eighth, and he can hand it over. That shortens the game and makes it a little bit different way to manage for Mike Shildt. So, anytime you can have a guy at the back end of your bullpen that is as good as Robert Suarez has been, as that note said, he's been a bad, bad man.
I like the headline as well. Good job of the Padres PR department. That was a good note in there today. Tony, as always, appreciate the time. We will talk to you and Jesse coming up at 6:30 for this series opener. Thanks so much.
Take care, Sam.
All right, that is Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we continue this 6-game homestand. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can tweet at me or Instagram DM me at SammyLev, SammyLev. You can also comment on our brand fancy new video stream. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever, you can comment. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from. You'll hear my keys to the game coming up later in our pregame coverage. If you have a key to this game or to this series, or you just want to say hi, you can write it in, tweet, DM me, comment on the video streams, and we'll get to those coming up a little bit later. Lot to do before first pitch. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Plus, I go one-on-one with Padres reliever Jeremiah Estrada coming up a little bit later as well. First pitch at 6:40 here in downtown San Diego. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues when we come back on the Padres Radio Network.
You're listening to the EcoWater
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. Game one of this three-game series coming up at 6:40. We go out to Jesse and Tony at 6:30. A lot to do between now and first pitch. We'll hear from Mike Shildt coming up in just a moment. We'll tell you who's hot, who's not. Plus, I go one-on-one with Padres reliever Jeremiah Estrada coming up in our next segment as well. Before we hear from Mike Shildt, let's quickly give you the lineup today for the Padres. DHing leading off, Luis Ariz, Fernando Tatis Jr. Batting second and right, Jake Cronenworth at first base batting third. Manny Machado at third base batting cleanup. Jurickson Profar in left field batting fifth. Xander Bogaerts at second base batting sixth. Jackson Merrill in center field batting seventh. Luis Campusano doing the catching batting eighth. And Ha-Sung Kim at shortstop batting ninth. Very good to see Ha-Sung back in the lineup today. When he got hit by that pitch in the left wrist forearm area yesterday, he was in a lot of pain, had to come out of the game after running the bases, and you feared for the worst, but the good news, the x-rays were negative yesterday, and Ha-Sung is in the lineup today, playing shortstop and batting ninth. With that lineup in mind, let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
We'll start off with the Dodgers series. Obviously a fantastic one for the Padres. What did you like that this team did, and what would you like to see them build upon going into this next series?
I thought it was just a continuation of the series prior to that. Had a good series in Arizona on the road, Chicago on the road. Had multiple good series before that even. So it's just really a continuation of just good fundamental baseball.
This team is 5-1 in rubber games. What have you seen as some of the qualities that have allowed this team to be successful in those types of games?
Yeah, I know it's a group that's really dedicated to daily competition and sincere about, being better as the series goes. And if you do that, you got a best chance of, in a rubber game opportunity.
And then Robert Suarez has been fantastic, regardless of whether it's a non-save situation or a 5-out save. What can you say about his consistency and demeanor and the situation, regardless of what it is?
Yeah, well, he's not going to make the situation bigger than it is. He's going to come out and he's going to be on the attack. He's going to throw that heater, and he's going to work off of that. But he's going to establish that heater. But the biggest thing is he's going to throw it for quality strikes. He's going to establish positive counts, and he's going to make sure that defense stays engaged when they need him. But he's just going to stay on the attack.
And then Kim, how's he feeling today?
He's sore. He's in there now. If he moves around and doesn't feel like he can go, then we may do something differently. But he showed up and sore, but able.
It's kind of outlandish, but how do you assess just the mojo of this team so far through the first few months of the season?
Established that in spring training. It's a good group. It's a hungry group. It's a fun group. It's a good group to be around. It's a group that enjoys each other. But it's also a group that's dedicated, on a consistent basis to play well. And enjoying playing. And that's one of the biggest things we talk about. Make sure you're having a good time with it. Showing up, being true to who you are, and but also who we are as, a team. And so just enjoy the process of being great together.
How much do you think that plays into the success that they've shown early on?
I think it's important. Anytime you got a group of people working towards the same goal and enjoying it, usually it's positive, and it's just a matter of continuing to take those next steps to continue to improve. You're welcome.
With Randy Vasquez on the mound today, what have you liked about what Randy's done so far?
I really liked his last outing. Gets back to what we were talking about with Suarez. Even you can insert name. He was able to go out and locate his pitches and control counts. That's what you did a tremendous job of yesterday. King did in the series. Waldron was able to do. They were able to command their fastballs and be able to control counts, and then you pitch off of that. And he did a tremendous job last time in Chicago, and expect more of the same tonight.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game show coming up when this one is over. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we walk you up towards first pitch at 6:40. We'll have my keys to the game coming up a little bit later. Let's read a tweet here from Dan. Dan saying the key to the series for the Padres, jump on them early, be the first to score, put up a crooked number and make the Rockies play from behind. Take care of business at home against an opponent you are expected to beat consistently. Dan, I think well said there, and playing from ahead, that would certainly benefit the Padres both here tonight and in this series. And again, if you want to let me know what your key to the game is, you can tweet at me or Instagram DM me at SammyLev, SammyLev, or you can comment on the video stream as well. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We take a look at who's hot, who's not. Let's begin with the guy in the leadoff spot today, Luis Arraez, in the midst of a 19-game on-base streak, batting .350 in that span with 13 runs scored. Arraez batting .344 in his first 8 games with the Padres. So far, Arraez has been as advertised. Jake Cronenworth, his last 14 games, batting .339 with 6 doubles, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, a .1027 OPS in the past 14 games. Brendan Rodgers for the Rockies in the hot category today, in the midst of a 7-game hitting streak, batting .407 in that span. Elias Diaz having a very, very good month of May, batting .350 this month, a span of 40 at-bats. In the not category, we take a look at one Rocky and one Padre. Let's begin with the Rocky. Lauris Montero, his last 15 games, he's batting just .154 in a span of 55 at-bats. And for the Padres, Manny Machado batting just .180 in the last 13 games, a span of 50 at-bats. And we'll see if Manny can get it going in this series against Colorado. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, we'll take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We have my keys to the game. Plus, I go one-on-one with Padres reliever Jeremiah Estrada. And a full look at our starting pitching matchup between Randy Vasquez and Dakota Hudson coming up a little bit later as well. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues after this on the Padres Radio Network.
Hey, guys, it's Woodsy here, and I'm
Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. First pitch coming up at 6:40 as the Padres begin this 3-game series at Petco Park. A beautiful Monday here in downtown San Diego. Should be a lot of fun as the Padres try to keep their winning ways going. Padres have won 4 consecutive series, 8 of their last 11 games, and a good opportunity to keep it rolling against the Rockies team coming in at just 12-28. As we get ready for game 1 of this series, let's check in on the injuries impacting this series for both the Padres and the Rockies.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
We take a look at our injury report for today, the injuries impacting this series. Let's begin with the Rockies. A regular for them is on the IL right now. That's Nolan Jones, who went on the IL on April 30th with a low back strain. He is not off the IL yet, so Nolan Jones is not in the Rockies lineup here tonight. For the Padres, the injuries impacting this series, well, number one, let's talk about Ha-Seong Kim, who was hit in the wrist and forearm area, his left wrist and left forearm area yesterday, was in a lot of pain. Came out of the game, and he's back in the lineup today, like we said earlier, playing shortstop and batting ninth. The x-rays came back negative yesterday on Kim, so hopefully he does well today and is all good with that wrist forearm area. So that's good news for the Padres. Of course, Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres today, taking the spot of Joe Musgrove in the rotation. Musgrove still on the IL with tricep tendinitis. We'll see what the rest of this week looks like for Joe. If Musgrove takes around the minimum amount of days to return, could line him up to return over the weekend in Atlanta. We'll find out more about that as this week rolls along, and we continue to hear how Joe's feeling and what the plan is for him. And that's a look at our injury report on this Monday before we begin this 3-game series. I'll go one-on-one with Jeremiah Estrada in just a little bit, but first let's take a quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look at scores today from around the major leagues. We have one final, we have one postponement, we have a lot of games going on right now, we have a lot of games coming up in a little bit. The one final, Tigers beat the Marlins 6-5 in Detroit earlier today. Games going on right now. Mets ahead of the Phillies 3-1 in New York in the 7th inning. Blue Jays leading the Orioles 3-2 in Baltimore in the 10th inning there. We'll see if the Orioles can come back in that one. Rays ahead of the Red Sox 4-3 at Fenway Park in the 7th inning. Braves ahead of the Cubs 2-0 in Atlanta in the 6th inning. Pirates ahead of the Brewers 3-0 in Milwaukee in the 5th. Guardians and the Rangers are scoreless in Arlington in the 5th. Astros 3, A's 1 in Houston in the 4th inning. Games still to come. Cardinals and Anaheim against the Angels at 6:38. Reds and the Diamondbacks at 6:40 in Arizona. Royals and the Mariners in Seattle at 6:40. And the Dodgers and the Giants in San Francisco at 6:45. The one postponement, that was the Nationals and the White Sox postponed due to rain. They will make that up as part of a doubleheader tomorrow in Chicago. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Monday across the major leagues. Well, earlier today I had an opportunity to catch up with new Padres reliever, still relatively new Padres reliever, Jeremiah Estrada. Estrada has great stuff, and it will be interesting to see. And I'm going to get into this a little bit later during our Keys to the Game in about 5 minutes or so. I'm very interested to see, based on the success Estrada has had so far and his stuff, if we see Jeremiah Estrada start to get some more high leverage opportunities as we go along here. So far with the Padres, 5 appearances, 7 innings, no earned runs allowed. He's only given up 3 hits. He struck out 7. He has walked 4, but I think Jeremiah Estrada has been pretty interesting so far on the mound, been pretty impressive so far on the mound out of that bullpen. I caught up with Estrada on the field before today's game.
Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. The Padres opening up this 3-game series against the Colorado Rockies. And right now I'm joined by Padres reliever Jeremiah Estrada. And Jeremiah, before we get to anything baseball related, I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm from the East Coast originally. Last All-Star break, I go to Palm Springs, Palm Desert for the first time ever. Middle of July, it's the All-Star break, the heat. It was incredible. You went to high school in Palm Desert. How'd you deal with the heat growing up in the Coachella Valley?
Man, just growing up there your whole life, you get used to it. It's really nothing. I mean, to be honest, my dad would question what I would do sometimes because when I would pitch at the 3 o'clock games, I would wear long sleeves still whenever I would pitch, and it's like, it wasn't effective. You get used to it.
Jeremiah, let's kind of recap your time with the Padres so far. How's it been going?
It's been amazing. Truly blessed to be here in Southern California, where I'm from. And, just a good group of guys here. The field is amazing, absolutely legendary. I've been here a couple of times growing up, and also during the PGL American, I was here too. And it's just, things come together at one point in your life. You just got to give all to the glory of God, and, it's in His hands. And I was placed here,
A lot of family and friends coming to games since you've been back in Southern California?
My goodness, yes. This weekend was terrible. I had about, I think, combined around 60 to 70 tickets that I had to give out. But honestly, those are things, that's a good problem to have, You got family and friends that are coming to want to see you, and like I'm always going to say, it's always a blessing.
As far as your performance on the field, the results have been pretty good so far. How have you felt about how you've done in these relief appearances?
It's been good, of course, a lot of hard work has paid off working with Ruben and Ben, and having to fill with some of the other bullpen guys, I think it's also the type of vibe that you have in the bullpen with the team that builds in more of like enjoyment of going out there to pitch more, and it's been good, and it's hard. I love putting more. I think it's a weird thing to say when performance takes place as well when you know what you have behind your back. Sure. With your teammates, and it's huge, and I love it. And these guys are my new teammates, and I love to be here. And I give it to them, my performance, and to the coaching staff.
As far as your pitch mix, I mean, I've been looking at some of the fan graphs metrics, and when you look at some of these things like Stuff Plus, you get rated really, really highly as far as having really nasty stuff. So I want to ask you, how do you describe your stuff, your pitch mix?
I've never even knew what any of that stuff meant, like stuff mix, or like sometimes some of the guys tell me about like the vertical break movement and stuff. Like I'm like, I don't even know what that means, bro. And I'm like, I just go out there and love to throw. The pitch mix, just getting comfortable with every pitch that I have. Like once again, we're working with Ruben and Ben with the new slider that I have, and the fastball change has been what I've had. But it's been working well. Just trusting my stuff, trusting the catchers. I really don't shake much, but I love to listen, and I trust both of those guys, Campy and also Higgy. Great guys to have, and whatever I throw, I feel comfortable with. Whatever they call.
Yeah, this is something I talked about with Michael King yesterday. I asked him what it really meant to be on the same page with a catcher, and you mentioned you're somebody that doesn't shake off much. What does that feel like to you when you're on the same page as the guy that's catching you?
It feels like you could take over the game. You feel like you could take over the hitters, that you're in full control, and that their guy has nothing on you, and to know that you guys are both, like how you were just saying, when you're both on the same page, you both have the same goal, and it's to get this guy out, and to both of us to talk about it in the dugout after we strike the guy out. That's the thing you look forward to.
Jeremiah, appreciate the time. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you again down the road. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Back here live inside the Western Metal Building, Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here in downtown San Diego as the Padres get ready to take on the Colorado Rockies in Game 1 of this 3-game series. Big thank you to Jeremiah Estrada. Great conversation there. We'll see if Estrada gets into tonight's game or at some point in this series. Before we hear my keys to the game, I want to get to a few of your keys to today's game. We have a couple of YouTube comments here. Dominic saying, key to today's game, jump on Hudson early. He hasn't pitched well this season. We'll get more into Dakota Hudson coming up here in just a little bit. We have Caleb also saying, key to the game, offense needs to play small ball and play quote-unquote next man up baseball. Pitching needs to pound the strike zone and let the defense work. Caleb, I'm with you. That sounds like a good recipe for success. We have a tweet here I want to get to as well. The tweet is from Code Brown SD saying the big three have to show up, and I would assume that's referring to Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr. Well, I agree with you. Having those guys perform well, that would be very, very good for tonight's game for the Padres and certainly in this series as well. Now, let's give you my keys to the game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
Lots to get to here. Key number one, Randy Vasquez. Over the last 4 games, Padres starters have allowed just 2 runs on 7 hits in 26 1/3 combined innings. The Padres have posted a 2.04 ERA as a whole pitching staff in the last 6 games against the Cubs and the Dodgers. According to Elias, the Padres are the first team since at least 1893, yes, 1893, to record 4 consecutive starts of at least 5 innings and 2 or fewer hits allowed. That is how good Padres starting pitching has been the last 4 games. That brings us to Randy Vasquez. I'm not even saying that Randy has to be great, as this turn through the rotation has been, but he needs to be good. He needs to hold his own against this Rockies lineup, keep the Padres in this game. If they have a lead, keep them ahead. Randy has to be good today. That's key number 1. Key number 2, do damage against Dakota. The Padres tagged Dakota Hudson for 4 runs on 6 hits in less than 3 innings back in late April. Padres have to get their offense going today against Hudson, a guy they should be, quite frankly, able to generate some runs against. Manny Machado, good career numbers against Hudson, 5 for 10 with a couple of home runs against him. Xander hits, including a home run, snapped an 0 for 17 skid with the home run. He used an axe bat yesterday, has a different angled handle on it. It's used by a lot of guys now in the big leagues. Well, yesterday that bat brought him his first exit velocity of at least 105 miles per hour since April 12th. So we'll see if Xander's using that bat again here today, and we'll see if Xander can build on that momentum. And by the way, I got that note about the axe bat and that exit velocity of 105 from Dennis Lin in The Athletic today. He had that in an article, so shout out to Dennis Lin for that. Key number 3, the path to Suarez. If the Padres are fortunate enough to have a lead today, how do they get through the late innings and to Robert Suarez in a close game? It's something I talked about yesterday on the pregame. The path to Suarez is a bit of a concern right now. Yuki Matsui has allowed a run in each of his last 3 outings. Enyel De Los Santos has allowed a home run in 3 consecutive outings. Wandy Peralta does have 5 consecutive scoreless outings. This season's been a little up and down. He gave up 6 runs in a span of 3 appearances to finish April. But how about the guy we just heard from, Jeremiah Estrada? This was another good note from Dennis in The Athletic today. Jeremiah Estrada ranks in the top 10, and you heard me reference this during the interview, in the top 10 among major league pitchers in Stuff Plus from Fangraphs. And without getting into, all of what that means, know this. It means that Jeremiah Estrada has really, really nasty stuff. He can generate a lot of swing and miss. Do we see Jeremiah Estrada start to get some more of these opportunities in high leverage spots? Who does Mike Shildt go to? Who can he trust in that Padre bullpen in a close game? That's key number 3. And finally, key number 4, the first inning. The Rockies this season have been outscored 40-16 in the first inning. The 40 runs allowed tied for the most runs allowed in the first inning in the majors this season. Jump on these Rockies in the first inning. That has been a problem for them all season long, and that was a very long but very detailed look at our keys to today's game. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, I'll tell you what to watch for in today's game. We'll have a full breakdown of our pitching matchup between Dakota Hudson and Randy Vasquez. First pitch coming up at 6:40 here at Petco Park. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues after this on the Padres Radio Network.
Stick around for much more
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. Padres getting ready to begin a three-game series against the Colorado Rockies. Padres have won four consecutive series. They enter today's game 22-21. Rockies sitting at just 12-28. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres today against right-hander Dakota Hudson. For the Rockies, we'll have more on that pitching matchup coming up in just a little bit. Still a lot to do between now and first pitch on a beautiful Monday evening here in downtown San Diego. A big giveaway tomorrow. I'll have more on that on the postgame show a little bit later, but should be a fun night of baseball here in America's finest city. Let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game. The Rockies bullpen. It would be unwise to think that a key to today's game is just getting into the Rockies bullpen and taking advantage. And here's why. The Rockies bullpen has a 1.63 ERA in the month of May. That's the second lowest ERA for any major league bullpen this month. The Rockies have a new closer in Jalen Beeks, who has a 2.33 ERA this season. He's 3 for 3 in save chances since taking that closing role. The weird part about it, not the weird part, but the interesting part about it for the Rockies, their bullpen had the second highest ERA of any bullpen in the months of March and April, but ever since May started again, the ERA for their relievers collectively is 1.63. So keep an eye on that. Typically in games, years past, you think, all right, get into the bullpen, take care of those guys, stack up some runs. I don't know that's the case right now against this Rockies bullpen. Something to keep an eye on, something to think about as this game gets deeper and deeper. And that's a look at what to watch for in today's game. First pitch coming up at 6:40. Let's dive into our pitching matchup between Dakota Hudson and Randy Vasquez.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
On the mound for the Padres, right-hander Randy Vasquez, the 25-year-old. Of course, part of the Juan Soto deal came from the New York Yankees this past offseason. 2024 with the Padres so far. 3 starts, a 4.50 ERA in 12 innings. Last start Tuesday in Chicago against the Cubs. 4 innings and a third, 1 earned run given up, 5 hits. He struck out 6 and walked 1. Vasquez faced the Rockies on April 25th in Denver, allowed 4 runs on 6 hits in 2 2 2/3 innings. The arsenal for Vasquez: the four-seam fastball, the curveball, the sweeper, the sinker, the changeup, and the cutter. His curveball has a 192 expected batting average. It's been a very good pitch for Vasquez, so keep an eye on how he uses that curveball here tonight. Meanwhile, on the mound for the Rockies, right-hander Dakota Hudson. The 29-year-old is 0-6 with a 6.35 ERA. 7 starts this season, 34 innings, 20 strikeouts. He's actually walked more guys than he struck out, 22 walks on the year. Last start against the Giants, 3 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs given up. Faced the Padres on April 25th in Denver, went 3 innings and a third, 6 earned runs given up on 6 hits. He walked 4 in that game. 4 career starts against the Padres, a 5 ERA. This will be his 3rd career start at Petco Park, a 3.52 ERA in 2 career starts here. And the arsenal for Hudson: a sinker, slider, four-seam fastball, changeup, and a curveball. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup between Dakota Hudson and Randy Vasquez. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Padres doing a lot of winning lately. They've won 8 of their last 11. The Padres have won 4 consecutive series. But remember, the Rockies have won 4 in a row. They're coming off a sweep of the World Series champion Texas Rangers. Not an easy one here tonight for the Padres. We'll see if they can start this series on a high note. When we come back, Jesse and Tony have the starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. We'll talk to you on our post-game show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network.
Each month, Dixie Line's in-home mailer features